When you were growing up, there were probably two main options for stoves: the coily electric ones and ones that used gas to make a flame. But there's a third option now that's becoming more common. They're called induction stoves. And not only are they faster, more controllable, and more efficient than other options, but depending on what you have now, they might also be better for your health. Hi, I'm Alexis Dahl, and I'm a science communicator who spent hours reading about induction cooking. And here's what you need to know. Traditional gas and electric stoves are all about transferring heat. One uses fuel like natural gas or propane to make a fire, then that fire transfers heat into your pan. The other runs electricity through a wire inside a coil. That wire resists the flow of electricity, and that resistance gets the wire and the coil super hot. Then the heat transfers into your pan. Ceramic stoves with smooth cooktops also work this way. The heating element is just hidden. Regardless, the key word here is transfer. Heat is generated in one place and then has to move into your cookware. And this is where induction stoves are different. They look just like a ceramic stove with a smooth cooktop, and they use electricity, but they use it very differently than a traditional stove. Under the smooth cooking surface is a coil of cables, typically made of copper. When you turn on the stove, electricity flows through that coil. But the coil's job is not to make heat. It's to make a magnetic field. The stove switches the direction of the electric current thousands of times per second, and this creates an alternating magnetic field around the coil. That magnetic field then interacts with the iron in your pan and ultimately causes the pan, and only the pan, to heat up. With induction cooking, heat is not being transferred from the stovetop to your cookware. The heat is coming directly from the pan itself. It's like it's been turned into a mini stove. And this has major benefits. For one, gas and electric stoves can create hot spots on a pan because they mostly just heat the part of the pan they're touching. But with induction, since the pan is effectively making its own heat, every spot is just as hot as the next. So food cooks more evenly. Also, that heat can be precisely controlled. On some models, you can even set the exact temperature. And unlike with a traditional electric stove, that heat can be controlled instantly. No waiting for a coil to cool down. Induction stoves save time, too. In this experiment, a pot of water boiled 2 to 4 minutes faster on an induction stove compared to gas or traditional electric. And when we tested this out, we got a similar end result. Induction boiled faster. These things are so fast because they skip that heat transfer step from other stoves. You don't have to wait for a fire to warm the area around the pan or for a burner to get red hot. Instead, again, the pan is effectively heating itself. Almost all the energy induction stoves use goes into cooking your food, not heating the burner or the kitchen. In fact, induction stoves are about 85% efficient, compared to 75 to 80% for traditional electric stoves, and only about 32% for gas. Besides wasting less energy and keeping your kitchen cooler, there's also an added bonus here that makes the whole cooking process nicer. Other stovetops get super hot. They need to. But this also means that when the pasta boils over or the sauce splatters, you can end up with a crusty mess. With induction, this doesn't happen because, again, the heat is not coming from the stovetop, it's coming from the pan. So the only thing that gets scorching hot is the pan itself. The stovetop does still get hot because there's a warm pan on it, but it doesn't get nearly as hot as with other kinds of cooking, and it cools down a lot faster. So if something splatters, spills, or boils over, you're not left scrubbing out crevices and drip pans. Some people even put a silicone mat or a towel underneath their cookware to absorb spills, and the food cooks just fine. Plus, a safety perk is that if someone accidentally turns on the stove or leaves it on, or you have a kid in your life who just loves twisting knobs, the stovetop won't get hot unless there's a compatible pot or pan sitting on top of it. There's no risk of a pizza box catching on fire, gas leaking into the house, or a burning hot coil sitting unattended where the cat could jump on it. Now, all this said, it is important to know that cookware does need to be made from what are called ferromagnetic materials to work on an induction stove. But that list includes cast iron, most stainless steel, and enameled cast iron or steel. So you've got plenty of options. Just know that most copper, aluminum, and glass cookware is not compatible unless it has a magnetic layer on the bottom. As a tip, if a magnet sticks firmly to the bottom of your pan, it's probably okay. Or you can look for the induction compatible symbol on the packaging. Also, safety note, because of how all this works, if you have a pacemaker, please consult your doctor before switching to induction. Now, earlier I mentioned health. Well, if you're switching from a gas to an induction stove, that can improve the air quality in your home, which might be especially important if you have kids. For one, small leaks in gas pipes, ones too small to smell, aren't uncommon. And unburned natural gas contains compounds like benzene that have been linked to a higher risk of cancer. Burned natural gas also produces pollutants, including nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, formaldehyde, other volatile organic compounds, and tiny particles. All this isn't great for the air you're breathing, and notably, multiple studies have found that nitrogen dioxide in particular is linked to childhood asthma. Scientists haven't done experiments that prove that having a gas stove causes childhood asthma, because those experiments wouldn't be safe for kids. But multiple studies have found a connection between the two. For instance, in a recent one, scientists looked at survey data, and they estimated that almost 13% of childhood asthma cases in the US could be linked to having a gas stove in the house. Now, buying a new stove isn't always an option. So if you do have a gas stove, know that turning on the fan and having good ventilation definitely helps, although it doesn't reduce the risk to zero. Going back to induction though, if you are interested in switching, one last tip for you. Induction stoves use the same 240 volt outlet as a traditional electric stove. So if you've already got an electric stove, you're good to go. But if you're switching from gas, consider talking to an electrician to see if your outlet or electrical panel needs to be upgraded. Induction stoves work because of some fascinating physics, and it turns out that also leads to a nicer cooking experience. When it comes to stoves, you've got options, but if you've been wondering about induction, there's what you need to know. Thanks for watching. If you want to learn more about induction cooking, you can head over to upco.com/induction. This video was made possible by UPCO's Energy Efficiency Program.